Ben Silverman is here with me. We are going to talk about our experience with Cliffy B's little game called LawBreakers. Not so little, and he doesn't like that we call him Cliffy B anymore. Cliff Bleszinski has started his own company called Boss Key, and this is being published by Nexon. So he did a deal with a Korean company to bring out his multiplayer shooter with a really big emphasis on verticality. What do you think of playing LawBreakers?
I had heard not flattering things about LawBreakers. They had this event, I think, out in Raleigh, where the company is headquartered.
Yeah.
And some other journalists had gone, and I had heard not great things. So we got on this bus and we go to this place, and we sit down with the game, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was actually really fun. I'm not entirely sure where it fits in the kind of grand scheme of things for online shooters in this day and age. And I'm speaking specifically about its aspirations as an esport, or if it's not going to be an esport. And these days, that's a decision that obviously developers don't make, but they have to try to set their games up for esports success if they want to become a competitive game that is played like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where LawBreakers exists there, if it's going to have success in that sense, or if it's just going to be kind of a fun online shooter.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that was interesting for me after having played that game and then to come home and play Overwatch, because I hadn't experienced any Overwatch, I never played the beta. I'm loving Overwatch. I think it's ridiculously fun, but the mobility that LawBreakers delivers is something that I now yearn for and miss, and I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that speed and that ability to jump all over the map and to get more vertical, and I think that being one of their primary goals with this game, they've really achieved that. I mean, there's some issues that I've had with there isn't really enough sort of. We haven't seen every map, but the maps that I have seen sort of blur and blend into each other, and it doesn't feel like there's enough disparity or variety in the environmental stuff that I've seen so far. But in terms of the character options, it's another one of these really character-rich, kind of classless, but you can certainly benefit your team by trying to balance out the classes and the types of characters that you pick. Anybody can pick any character they want. They can have 4 or 5 of the same character on screen at the same time. But it's another one of these really well thought out character type of experiences there with fun variations of personalities and weaponry and skill sets and ability. But chief among the ability in almost all of these characters is how they traverse through the maps and how fun that is. The tanks are slow ass, but they're really powerful, obviously.
Yeah.
I really had a lot of fun with LawBreakers.
It reminded me a little bit of Tribes.
Absolutely. Yes.
A game that a lot of people loved back in the day.
Loved that game, yes.
And a game that sort of has fallen off the radar as being what was, I believe, a seminal online shooter.
Yeah.
People don't really talk about Tribes a lot, and I think Cliff comes from an era when Tribes was an important game, and he remembers how cool that kind of stuff was. So that it really did remind me of kind of older school, awesome kind of movement-based first-person shooting, and Cliff knows that stuff really well.
And Unreal, the championship, the Unreal Tournament, Unreal Championship games were all about mobility. They were, Quake, I think, had a lot of clever sort of ways to traverse the map as well, but I think a lot of that stuff was almost in challenge to, or in sort of a response to a lot of the Unreal designs that they had, And I feel
absolutely.
like this is another step forward for that kind of game design.
Yeah, I mean, and they also do a lot with gravity.
Mm-hmm.
There are these sections in the map where you basically, don't have any gravity, and you're kind of floating up around things. You have really low gravity, so you can kind of jump way up in the air, and you kind of flip around and shoot things. You can kind of rocket yourself. We learned things about, when you're the behemoth character, and you have this big rocket launcher, you can actually point it behind you and shoot and kind of make yourself go forward faster.
Well, it makes coming into any room absolutely, nerve-wracking, because you have no idea where your enemy is going to be. Are they going to be up in the corner of
They're not just down here or on a platform. They can be kind of floating in the air. And then also the core gameplay conceit here, at least in the mode that we were playing, which I thought was a lot of fun. There were a couple different modes we played, but the big conceit in these modes, in the cool mode, is it's kind of like a capture the flag where you get this thing and you put this battery in your home base and you're charging up the battery.
Yeah.
But the battery charges
no matter which base it's in.
No matter which base it's in. And the important thing is that you have the battery when it's fully charged.
Mm-hmm.
So you can suck and the other team can have the battery and be guarding it like a flag in their base and charge it to like 98. And then one of your guys just like grabs it and steals it and runs back and dumps it in yours.
Cue the Benny Hill theme song.
Yeah.
No, it was fun, and you get pissed off, and some the hands were slammed on desks, and but it got us energized, and I think we all had a very good time. That was our first as a judge group, sort of our competitive head-to-head kind of experience, and I think we all there were a lot of smiles,
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, but again, right? Like you talked about Overwatch, which is a hero-oriented shooter. So in Overwatch, you have 30. How many heroes are in that?
25, I think.
Right, Paragon as well, millions of heroes. League of Legends, other esports, tons of heroes, tons of options.
Yes.
Dota 2, Heroes of the Storm. This game has at least we played 5 classes.
Yeah,
it's a lot more Team Fortress 2, but without the kind of necessary teamwork you need in a game like Team Fortress. If you're the healer, you're the healer. There was no healer. There's no support class here. Like everyone felt sort of like they're aggressive and attacking, and how do you want to attack?
And and the way that we played it, certainly a little bit more on our own, trying to be the VIP or the MVP of every match.
We were all VIPs.
Yeah, we were VIPs, but we were trying to be MVPs. You down with OPP?
No. Yeah. I think you're right, and when you look at a game like this and you don't understand what a good team composition is, and we're only playing it for a little while, I'm sure at the higher levels of play there is a value to certain team comps on certain maps, and we'll have more of kind of the classic bits and pieces that make a game a successful esport. And I think that's where they want to go with this. But again, it didn't feel like that to me. It felt more like this is just going to be a game that's fun to play online with your friends.
Right.
Kind of like Tribes.
Yeah.
And less about watching people play competitively. Like we watched a little bit of competitive play when the developers all played each other.
Yeah.
It was a little nauseating, and it was kind of the same thing over and over again. It's a lot of, again, aggressive attacking. You don't see a lot of complex strategies.
Well, and I think the game, because of its mobility, would benefit greatly from larger maps and even a few more characters on the teams.
Absolutely.
But that's one of the, I think, wonderful things, and probably one of the things that attracted Boss Key to Nexon, is that they know how to position to monetize, to create content like that, and to create sort of a long tail product cycle like that. And I do think that it's enough of a change and enough of a decent varietal moving away from Overwatch that I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. Cliff at the event made some comments about how difficult this is going to be to port to consoles, and I don't know how it will do on the consoles if it ever does come to the consoles. But I think that there's going to be a lot of old PC diehards that miss. I mean, it's kind of crazy that we don't get regular Unreal and regular Quake updates in 2016. It feels, especially with all of this esports competition, an open invitation to the companies that own those IPs to kind of revitalize interest in those things. And here's LawBreakers kind of coming in to fill a void. And I think that he's gonna get a lot of old fans for games like Tribes and games like Unreal and games like Quake and Doom in a sort of a modern multiplayer setting, Although Doom is pretty phenomenal right now, although its multiplayer isn't its best point.
Right, and so that's a good point, right? Like, is there enough of a desire for what this game offers, which is this kind of twitchier, more movement-based, maybe not as much depth to strategies? And we're in a world now where esports is becoming so big, and shooters. I mean, you look at a game like Counter-Strike, right, which is the biggest competitive shooter in the world, and it hasn't really changed much since 1990, whatever, as a mod, but the strategies that just kind of have been built into that game with all the different kinds of weapons and how you buy and purchase and all that kind of, the systems of that are huge. That's everything about this game.
Do you think it will fail if it's not esports? Do you think it will just have a tough time cracking through? I mean, is esports the barometer for how successful a shooter is going to be moving forward?
I think it's, I mean, I don't know. In a weird way, it's the opposite, right? You can't make an esport. You make a game.
Yeah.
And the community decides if
they
it's
find it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
so, okay.
Like you look at a game like Rocket League, which is a game that doesn't have a lot of fiddly mechanics, but its design is so brilliant and so simple that it found a competitive life and is kind of growing and evolving as an esport. LawBreakers needs to have that kind of success because it doesn't have the strategic depth. At least it, and I say all this having played it for what? We played for an hour, right?
Yeah,
so like,
we don't
take
know yet.
all of this with a grain of salt this big when the thing comes out and it's huge and I'm totally schmuck.
I think the best thing about it is that it didn't feel like the other shooters that are kind of hot right now. It felt different, you know, and just running and flipping and flying through the map was so compelling that I missed it. And I want more of that. So I can't wait until it's finished and I've got it and I've got the PC to juice it and feel great running around it.
If we had a beta right now, we would totally be playing it. Like I would be playing it to check it out. Sure.
Absolutely.
Quad kill.
Hey, thanks for checking out that video on our EPN channel. It's just one small part of the things that we make around here. So if you liked it, don't forget to check out some of our other vids and hit that subscribe button.